First off, it's all about the U. Today, in the 11th part of the 12-part series of our 2010 opponents, I'll talk about a team that is a perennial national power year in and year out, the Virginia Tech Hokies. Our opponent on November 20th at Sun Life Stadium in the ACC Regular Season finale. Some background on the Hokies: they went 10-3, 6-2 in the ACC Coastal in 2009, ending with a Chick-fil-A Bowl win over Tennessee 37-14. They are coached by Frank Beamer, who is entering his 24th season as the head coach in Blacksburg, and with Bobby Bowden now retired, he is the new dean of college football coaches. His record is 187-92-2 as Hokies coach, with 3 ACC titles, and before that 3 Big East titles. The MO of Beamer teams have been 3 things: special teams, defense, and a tough physical running game. Let's start where it usually does with Beamer coach teams, and that's on special teams. Even though they lost punter Brett Bowden, who was an old ACC player in 2009 to graduation, they have a punter that their coaches think might be even better in Brian Saunders. As for the place kicking job, that's a little more shaky. They lost Matt Waldron to graduation, and finding a consistent kicker is going to be a tough challenge for Beamer in 2010. They have 3 candidates in senior Chris Hazley, junior Justin Meyer, and redshirt freshman Cody Journell. The most likely to get that job is Meyer because he did handle the kickoffs last season. Their return game is very strong. Back returning kicks and slash punts are junior Dyrell Roberts and Jaron Hosley. Roberts was 4th nationally in kick return yardage last year, averaging 31.9 yards a game. Hosley was 23rd in the country in punt returns in 2009, averaging 11.2 yards a game. They also have another weapon back there in sophomore David Wilson, who had a 19.1 yard average on 17 returns. But the calling card of a Beamer coach team is blocking punts and kicks. However, it's been few and far between in recent seasons, though this year they really think they'll return to what made them a danger to opponents in the 90s and early 2000s, and that's blocking kicks and punts. Defensively, anytime you have Bud Foster running that defense, you know it's going to be good. However, this year they will have to replace 4 starters from the 2009 team to graduation. 2 of them being defensive ends Nikos Brown and Jason Worlds. The latter, Worlds, went to is in the NFL. In 2010, they'll return just 1 starter on the D-line, and that's 5th-year senior John Graves on the interior. He's only had 41 career games and 22 starts. But after Graves on the depth chart are redshirt sophomore Antoine Hawkins, who's played all 13 games last year, and 4th-year junior Kwame Brattle, who's had no career starts but played in 11 games last season. See, other than Graves on the interior, this is going to be a very inexperienced line, and they will have very limited starting experience. In fact, no starting experience, especially on the end, where there's going to be some competition to fill some big shoes left by Worlds and Brown. One candidate to do so is 5th-year senior Stephen Friday, who's had 24 career games. The others are redshirt freshmen James Gale and J.R. Collins, as well as 4th-year junior Chris Drager, who's had just 1 career start in 31 games, and true freshman Zach McCray, provided he doesn't redshirt. At linebacker, Jake Johnson transferred to South Alabama, and Cody Grimm has gone to graduation. However, they returned 4 redshirt sophomores in Lindell Gibson, who started 5 games last year, had 53 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, and half a sack. Javon Gavea Winslow, who started just 8 career games. Bruce Taylor, 6 career games, who comes in for their most experienced and best linebacker in Barquell Rivers, who's a 4th-year junior who's hurt, and was their leading tackler in 2009 with 96 tackles, 34 of them solo, and 6.5 tackles for loss. Also back is Alonzo Tweedy, who's had 13 career games, but had 24 tackles, 16 of them solo in 2009. But really, when you look at it, really at the linebacking core, outside of Rivers, this is a group that will make mistakes, but should be better as the season progresses. Now, in the secondary, they lost safety Cam Chancellor to graduation, but they returned 5th-year senior, honorable mention, All-ACC player, and shut down corner Rashad Carmichael, who had 6 interceptions in 2009, along with 4 tackles for loss out of 55 tackles, 31 of them solo. Joining him on the other side, of course, is Hosley, who had 11 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, and 1 sack in 2009. At the safety spot, they do return senior Davon Morgan, who had 47 tackles and 2.5 tackles for loss in 2009. And at the other safety spot is junior Eddie Whitley, who's going to have to fill the big shoes left by Chancellor's departure. He started just 1 game last year, and on the season had 18 tackles, and one of them being tackle for loss. Also in the secondary is redshirt freshman Antoine Exum, who the coaches believe could be the next great one in their secondary, with all the lines of Amacho Harris they had there, and Whitaker, just to name a few of their great secondary players that's come out of there over the years. Junior Chris Hill's also back, as well as true freshman Theron Norman. On offense, they returned 6 starters. And of course, they're led by Taylor, who in 2009, while still a dangerous runner, of course, 370 yards on 106 carries and 5 touchdowns, he really improved in the passing game. He went 136 for 243, 56% for 2,311 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. They have a backup in true freshman Logan Thomas, who the coaches believe could be converted to receiver, maybe tight end. Kid's 6'6", by the way, 240 pounds. The running game is very solid, provided they stay healthy. With redshirt sophomore Ryan Williams back, 1,655 yards on 293 carries and 21 touchdowns in 2009, and redshirt junior Darren Evers, who missed all of last season with an ACL injury. If he's back to what he was in 2008, this is going to be a very dangerous 1-2 combo that defensive coordinators are going to have to deal with. However, they do lose to graduation 2 starters on the offensive line, Ed Wang and Sergio Kimball, so others are going to have to step up and produce. And this is still a very good line with the return of 5th-year senior Bo Warren and 4th-year juniors James Brooks and Blake DeChristopher. BT does have a passing game, and a very good one to boot. However, they lost 2 tight ends to graduation in Greg Boom and Sam Wheeler, but they do return 6'5", 270-pound 5th-year senior Andre Smith, who had just 3 receptions for 27 yards and 1 touchdown in 2009. But their main threat is definitely their wide receivers. Of course, they're led by junior Jarrett Boykin, who in 2009 had 40 receptions for 835 yards and 5 touchdowns. Also back are 4th-year junior Danny Cole, who had 614 yards on 30 receptions, which an average of 20.5 yards per reception. 2 touchdowns in 2009, and the junior being Roberts, who I mentioned earlier on the special teams end, had 390 yards on 22 receptions and 3 touchdowns in 2009. This is going to be a formidable passing game as Taylor gets better as a passer, and with those weapons, they're going to be dangerous. Bottom line about Virginia Tech in 2010, this is a team that has to find its way and replace some key personnel, and they will get a big-time test right away on Labor Day when they're in D.C. hosting Boise State. So we're going to know a lot about this team and how good it will be. From a CANES perspective now, this is another game that worries me because it's late in the year. However, this one's at home where we beat these guys 2 years ago. This game will not only have ACC Coastal title implications, but national championship implications as well. We know what happened last year in the quagmire up in Blacksburg. Yes, they blew us out 31-7. But I noticed that we had chances we just didn't take advantage of. The drops killed us, and then basically it just went downhill from there. We have to go take care of business at home against the Hokies at the ACC finale. It's going to be another tough game, and Virginia Tech's going to be better near the end of the season as they will early. So that's it on Virginia Tech. And in the final part of the series, we'll talk about another team that has gone through transition at the top this offseason, and that's the South Florida Bulls. I'll see you then, and as always, go Canes.